Welcome to the Back 9 Six-Pack with Mitch and Justin. Let's roll. Welcome to episode 58 of the Back 9 Six-Pack. My name is Justin. I am solo tonight. Mitch is traveling for a 10-year anniversary vacation with his wife. So the monkeys are running the zoo. The inmates are running the penitentiary. And we're just trying to hold it together while Mitch is out the next 2 weeks. But we're in the longest day of golf. This Monday, longest day of golf. Final U.S. Open qualifying. Dude, look, this is my favorite day of the year for golf. I'm kind of a golf nerd like that. A lot of people will say the Masters, first day of U.S. Open, majors, whatever. This is by far my favorite day of golf. Only reason is because you usually get really cool stories. But it's the democracy of golf, right? You get a bunch of guys out here. It doesn't matter your tour status. We have major champions playing today in qualifying. Everything from a major champion down to a science teacher, who, as I sit right now, is 4 holes away from qualifying for a U.S. Open. Just absolutely crazy, which makes it my favorite day of golf. Some really, really cool stories. I don't think I can go any place else other than, this. We've mentioned Justin Lauer on this podcast a multitude of times. Like it's been so many times. His story is it's very easy to root for. He played at Scarlet today, up in Columbus. Used to be, the Columbus sectional, used to be the strongest, with the Memorial following before the U.S. Open qualifying, and then all those guys would kind of head over. Now that it's a week later, the Memorial's this week, it's a limited event. There's some big names, but not nearly the bigger names that we usually see. I've been up there. I followed David Duvall, Davis Love. It used to be loaded. It's not as loaded this year, but nonetheless, he tore up Scarlet. Pulling up his scores here now, but Justin Lauer is finally going to play in his first major. He ends up co-winning the Columbus sectional up at Scarlet, and finally going to break through, getting his first major, playing at Pinehurst. And he said in his interview, he's like, "Look, I would have loved it to be earlier than this." In his head, he had it happening a lot sooner than 34 years old, but. His interview just crushed me, man. Not crushed me, but it was, to see the excitement, showing the emotion. Guy's had his tour card for 3 years now. When he was on Corn Ferry, I think he finished 26, which is just out of getting your tour card. I know of at least twice. I think it might have even been 3 times. So he's a grinder. He was 11 years a pro before he finally broke through into the PGA Tour. Which, dude, we like those guys. Those are us, right? He went 64, 68, 10 under, which if anybody's played Scarlet in Columbus, I know I have a couple people, I'm sure, big Ohio following, we've probably had some people play. It's not that easy. 64 is just stupid. May have been a little wet, but dude, it doesn't matter. That course is stupid hard. So congratulations to Justin Lauer. I do want to say this in his interview. If you don't know his story by now, if you've been listening to us, they're interviewing him, and he said, Sunday usually falls on Father's Day, and I lost my father at 15. It's going to be, mentioning it's going to be a pretty surreal experience. And he said he bleeds Ohio. And I think a guy that's a grinder like that is the epitome of Ohio people, just grinding away, finally making it. So shout out to Justin Lauer. Harry Higgs making it through down in South Carolina, I believe. Actually, North Carolina. He birdied the first 2 playoff holes. He was in I believe, a 7 for 2, and he birdies the first 2. That guy is on an absolute heater. If you haven't been following along Corn Ferry, he's won the last 2 events, goes into Monday qualifying, birdies the first 2 holes of a playoff, and makes it into the U.S. Open. So shout out to Harry Higgs. finding form again after barely getting his Corn Ferry Tour card at Q School this year after being on tour and then now playing in the U.S. Open. Just unbelievable story. And I did mention the science teacher, Colin Prater. He's a science teacher. He's also a girls golf coach. 4 holes away. It's absolutely incredible. That's why this is my favorite day of golf. It's just, and I'm sure we're going to have more stories come out. Side note for bigger names, Adam Scott, as of now, looks like he is going to be an alternate. And why that's a big thing is Adam Scott hasn't missed a major since 2001, which is just, first off, it's absolutely insane with the amount of talent when he came into golf, Tiger's tear and all that. And then, all the good talent that we have now, and the guy hasn't missed a major since 2001. And it actually looks like he is going to be in a playoff. I don't know what's going on with that, but he's going to be in a playoff for the final spot in Springfield. He actually played in Springfield, Ohio, Springfield Country Club, incredible golf course. If someone finished on 18, I'm not surprised they bogeyed that hole because that is an incredibly hard hole. But Adam Scott may be missing his first major. Regardless, he's going to be the first alternate. But this is going to be pretty low ranked on the alternate rankings. Dallas is probably going to be first. So Sergio probably going to get in. I think Sergio was the first alternate out of Dallas from about a week ago, I believe. But it's a big if he doesn't win this playoff, that he'll actually get into the U.S. Open. But that's it. That's why it's my favorite day. If you haven't followed along before now, like I highly suggest, Golf Channel does big coverage of it. But it's every good story you want to hear about golf, and honestly, a lot of heartbreak. I saw Chris Gotterup bogeyed from greenside, hit a second shot into a bunker in a par 5 right next to the green. Ends up making bogey from there and misses it by 1. Like, look, it's heartbreak too, but incredible stories. I highly suggest you just, start looking stuff up. It's really, really good stuff. Now, moving on from the longest day in golf, I'm going to give a prayers up for our guy Gunt. He is down in Belize for his honeymoon. Things just are not going his way. Get well, big guy. We need you healthy, especially get back here and playing golf now that the wedding's behind us. So later in the show, we're going to have a little special guest for Patio Beers. Didn't think we were going to have anybody, but we are. And I'm super excited for this guy to come on and shoot the crap, hit the patio with me, and, have a couple beers while we do it. If you have not yet, please follow us on Instagram, X, Twitter. Hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And if you could, give us a ranking on there, 5 stars. That always helps us out. You can leave a crappy comment about us, how terrible we are, or how terrible I am solo. But just leave us a 5-star if you could. All right, moving on. Speaking of crappy, my golf right now, can't super schizophrenic when it comes to golf right now. One day I feel like I have it. Next day I feel like I don't. As we talked about last week, I shot 66 on Saturday, kind of struggled and then, we did our show prior to our Memorial Day scramble. Just hit the ball like absolute garbage during that 2 days after shooting 66. I know we've talked about on here many times of finding that one swing thought. Like, I just cannot find it. Maybe found some of that. Maybe it's a work in progress, but I've been struggling to find that one thought. But first things first, Wednesday night golf league last week. Just a ho hum, 35. Our guy Ryan just struggled. He's a 4 handicap. Actually, I think he's down to like a 3. Shoots 49 on Wednesday. We played an outing yesterday. Kind can totally tell why he shot 49 on Wednesday. It was rough. But, you know, the problem is Wednesday night golf league is so hard because, you know, you're trying to make birdies, you're trying to win skins, but you also like want to try to shoot a good score. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, but like there's more involved in like winning a skin. So it's very tough. And I always catch myself in that, like a 35, it probably should have been a 33, but you know, you go after a couple putts, next thing you know, you have a couple 3 putts, you know, there it is. But we're back this week. Mitch won't be there. He's fallen very far behind the standings at this point. I think he's missed 2 or 3 weeks. I've missed a couple weeks, but I'm hanging tight. Got a good draw on partners last week, so you know, hopefully we can just get in the money. We're coming up on the last 3 weeks, I believe, of the first session, so that's all we're trying to do. Just trying to get in the money. As I mentioned, we played in a scramble yesterday, the Phil Wyant. Shout out to my buddy Andy, my buddy Chris, the Fallhaber family, the Wyant family. They put on an incredible event. We played in it every year. I think we figured it out. This was our 9th year we played in this event. Scramble, it's just, you get a lot for your buck. You know, a lot of scrambles lack in that area. You know, you're paying $150, $125. You may get lunch. They do it right. I mean, tons of drink tickets. You get lunch, you get dinner. All the people that play in are just fantastic. And there's no cheaters. No one ever cheats in this outing. Scores are exactly what you expect them to be. When we've lost, we've kind of like, hey, we left some out there. When we've won, we're like, hey, we won, right? Like, it wasn't like someone coming in at 25 under. There's some mulligans, but there's no strings, anything crazy like that, which is why we also love the event, because it's as close as you're going to get to a straight-up scramble. But the boys were bopping yesterday. We had some low points. Like I said, Ryan was a struggle all day. Utter struggle. It was ugly more than it was pretty. Maybe a couple good holes from him. Mitch, look, I'm gonna speak on his behalf. It was not good for most of the day, but he kind of found some things late. I think our like third to last hole, we had like 180 into a par 5. Mitch hits it to like 10 feet. We don't make the putt, but still a great shot. He started making better swings down the stretch. I played relatively well. Nothing super flashy, although I did almost have a hole-in-one on our first hole of the day. Super scary moment because we were trying to figure out how we were going to tell our wives that we weren't going to be home that night if that ball went in. Hits about 4 feet behind the pin, sucks back, maybe lipped out. It ended up about 3 inches away. Again, I know that sounds crazy. I'm saying scary moment, but it truly was a scary moment because everybody's going to have to make that phone call. Like Justin had a hole-in-one. We're not, we're going to be home at 1:00 in the morning. So sad we didn't get to make that phone call, but also kind of glad we didn't have to make that phone call. And then Nick played pretty well. We ended up shooting 18, eagle the last. I used my last mulligan, make like a 40-footer, maybe 30-footer off the fringe. Back of the hole, we come in at 18. We actually ended up winning by 2, which is a little surprising. I thought with how soft it was that scores would be a little lower. But the greens were kind of slow. We had some rain on Sunday morning before we played. So that maybe hindered some lower scores. The greens weren't rolling super fast. And, whenever you got to like hit putts harder, it's really hard to get them online. And maybe that's what kind of kept the scores a little, we didn't have a couple 18s where we only had one 18 and then the next closest group is 16. But shout out again, Wyant family puts on a great event, goes to a great cause. We had a blast. Like I said, the boys were bopping. We don't get to play much golf together as, 4 or 5 of us that usually play golf together. We don't sports and all that. So it's always fun to get out there and have a day with the guys. And that's really what it's about, but it's also fun to win. So, but again, awesome. Can't wait for next year. We're going to defend. That's all there is to it. There's no way around it. We're going to have to defend our title. As I mentioned earlier, the Memorial Day Scramble. So we recorded the day before the Memorial Day Scramble. As you remember, our buddy Ryan didn't pick Mitch. Kind of dissed him a little bit. Had the opportunity to draft him. Doesn't draft him. Mitch came on here with a little bit of an edge. Maybe some would say an attitude. And I'm going to tell you right now, Ryan's team beat Mitch's team. And that's what it comes down to, right? They didn't win. Neither of the teams won. But, Mitch had something to prove, and he didn't do it. And that's really what it comes down to. I think it's water under the bridge at this point. But, again, I'm going to speak for Mitch because he's not on here. And, you're going to go on vacation. I'm going to speak for you. I'm going to put words in your mouth. I think he'd say the same thing. I bet he's a little disappointed that he didn't beat Ryan's team. I know I would be. If I got dissed like that and didn't get drafted, I'd 100% be disappointed. But Ryan's team got the best of Mitch. My team never really got anything going. Very, very low vibes on our team. That's really all you can say. We just didn't make any putts. Didn't really hit anything close. Like, it was just not a fun day on the golf course. Yeah, I think we came in like 4th or 5th. 15 ended up winning it. Shout out to my boy Wes. That was his team. 3 eagles. I mean, they had a hole out. Everything you needed to do to win a scramble like that, especially with like no mulligans, no strings, no nothing. It's straight up scramble. Just gonna have to have some high level shots, and they did it. 15 under is incredible. It was windy, little firm. Truly a great score. So shout out to them. Winning a big pot. I think they all won about $600. They hit a couple skins too. So looking forward to 4th of July. That's kind of our next holiday event. That's a 2-man best ball, 4-man team, 2-man best ball draft again. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe get back on the winning side of things come 4th of July. Me and my guy Cody, we played in a section event recently. Kind of a weird format. We played it at our home club, Southern Ohio PGA. I'd say it's a very weird format. You play with your pro, and then everybody's an individual team. So we had 3 AMs and a pro, and each AM and the pro were individual teams. Me and the pro just didn't make any putts. It could have been a 64. It could have been a 68, which is what we ended up shooting best ball. That was gross. Just no putts made. And then we birdied 2 of the same holes. I ended up shooting 70. He shot 71. Easily both could have been mid-60 scores. Just when I say 0 putts went in unless I made one and then he'd make it, it was that way the whole day. And throwing a couple missed 3-footers for birdies. Just tough, but I think we came in 7th. It was a strong field. We've got some really good PGA professionals in our section here in Southern Ohio, and Bob Sowards has played in multiple PGA championships. Sam Arnold's playing in a couple PGA. They're really, really good club professionals, and so it was a strong field. I think we played pretty well, but Cody ends up winning the net division at 8 under. Did not have his best stuff, but on his stroke holes, I think he had a net eagle and 3 net birdies. So took advantage of his stroke holes. They shoot 8 under net. They ended up winning. So shout out to them and Sean, our head pro at the Elks. It's always fun to get out and play at an event at your home course and, kind of show off the course and show off, hopefully with a little bit of a home field advantage. Unfortunately for me, that didn't work out, but shout out to Cody and Sean for winning the net flight. Always, they run good events for the PGA section. If whatever PGA section you're in, I highly suggest getting with your PGA professional at your club or the course you play at and trying to get involved in those, because they really, really do a good job, and always good pots for, if you place in the top 10 or whatever. So highly suggest that if you've never done one of those. All right. So we're rolling right through this. But this week, RBC Canadian Open. Didn't watch much of it, but I did see highlights. As you know, we had Tommy Fleetwood in our one and done pick. Tommy gave us 3 good days. He ends up shooting 2 over yesterday. Really, really killed us because I think he went from like 4th to T21. Got us $106,377. Probably not going to do us very, very much. We're still a long way out of the money. We're going to have to find a winner maybe at the Memorial this week, or God forbid the U.S. Open would be awesome. Hopefully this week. I think the pot's actually bigger for the Memorial than the U.S. Open. But that was Tommy Fleetwood. But Bobby Mack gets his first PGA Tour win. What an incredible scene. His dad's caddying for him. Incredible scene. They hug it out on 18. He tried to blow it. He had a 5-shot lead with 9 holes to go. Ends up barely winning by 1. But man, you want to talk about another grinder? We're talking about Justin Lower. But Bobby Mack, man, and I'll tell you what, he is playing some under the radar, really, 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 really good golf right now. He had a good showing at the PGA, and then he gets a win here, gets into the Masters, gets into the majors, Century, all that stuff. Gets his first PGA Tour win. So shout out, Bobby Mack is one of the better guys. I've talked crap about him during the Ryder Cup, kind of being the anchor or whatever on a super talented team, by the way. So it's not really like a diss, but he finally gets that breakthrough win on the PGA Tour. Said he always wanted to win on the it was his dream to get a win on the PGA Tour. It's always cool hearing things like that with the nature of golf, professional golf these days. But yeah, shout out to Bobby Mack. What an incredible moment. And like I said, it's even cooler having your dad caddy for you and be on the bag. And, I think it has to be up there with his Ryder Cup appearance. But if not, if probably even above it, getting that individual win, incredible moment. So, other weird things that happened this weekend, Rory, had an interview with Amanda Balionis, rumors, and I'll say rumors, allegedly, they might be dating, but I will tell you, some weird energy in the interview, post round. It just, you could literally slice the tension, I guess you could say. It felt like when I watched the video, it felt like you sliced the tension with a knife. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at this point it's probably true, but we're going to say allegedly they have a relationship together. Rory filing for divorce back at the PGA, right before the PGA. And again, rumors, but watch the interview. You'll agree with me. You could literally slice the tension with a knife. It was just very, very awkward. Adam Hadwin takes a picture with the security guard that tackled him last year. Look, these are the moments I live for. Last year, well noted. After the long putt goes in on the Canadian Open last year, Adam Hadwin runs out. Canadian wins it for the first time in I don't know how many years, like 50, something crazy. Adam Hadwin runs out onto the putting green, or 18 green, gets absolutely speared to the ground by a security guard. He finds him this year. The guy's back at the event. He takes a picture with him. It says water under the bridge. Adam Hadwin is quickly becoming one of my favorite players on the PGA Tour. His wife's an incredible follow on Twitter, and he seemed like just like the coolest person in the world. Like, just to take that picture, I thought it was a really, really cool moment for an event that, we're all focused on the Memorial this week and then the U.S. Open the following week. It's kind of one of those things, but I thought that was a really cool moment for the Canadian Open, and I thought it was funny for Adam Hadwin to take that picture. But, all right. So, one and done. Like I said, we had Tommy Fleetwood. Not great. Just going to put it out as. Could have been a lot better. I'm talking like $300,000 better. If he even just puts like a halfway coherent round together on Sunday. He started out with a bogey, just never recovered after that. But we are on to, I guess I said today's my favorite day in golf. This is probably my favorite week in golf. I've talked about it before on here. I've gone to the Memorial probably 15 times. This is probably 8 or 9 years in a row. I go every year. This year, not going on Wednesday. Weather's supposed to be a little rough on Wednesday, but I am going Thursday and Friday. And look, Jack puts on a great event. He tries to kind of make it like I've never been to the Masters, but food's relatively cheap. Beer's not super expensive. And it's just a well-run event. Obviously, we always get the big names because it's Jack's event, right? So, but my favorite week of the year as far as golf tournaments go, just because of it's local, somewhat local, and I go to it. And I'm looking at it now. I'm in my basement. I've got like Memorial stuff everywhere. So I've kind of collected over the years. But our one and done pick. So really not a lot of thought has gone into this. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a big pot. You know, we've probably got to take a swing for the fences at this point. But we also don't want to use anybody that we might use in the last two majors either. But I texted Mitch. He didn't text me back, of course. I said, "Do you have any input into this?" Nothing back. So to me, what that means is I get free reign on who we're going to take. I don't know which direction to go with this. But because he didn't want to put any input in, I'm going to pick somebody. So here's who I'm thinking. So we've already taken Patrick Cantlay. He's out, plays well here, past winner. However, I was thinking this is going to be a long shot. I already know this. Man, Billy gets in from a special exemption. Wouldn't be terrible. Don't hate Tom Hoagie. But this course is a course that, like we said about Valhalla, it's going to be a big name. No one, I don't want to say this like smaller name wins here. It's just, they don't, the course is tough. It always plays tough. You had Billy Ho, and then you had Rahm, who should have won. And then Rahm's won here. Victor's won here. Like, we're talking top-notch talent guys win here. It just is what it is. Man, so it's tough. So I think we got to think big name. I think we have to think top 25, top 30 in the world, or at least someone that's a proven winner. That's who's usually going to win here. I know Mitch hates Brian Harmon. I know it's not the greatest setup for him. But this course it's an approach golf course, right? All these pins sit in 10-foot areas where you just kind of have to be in the right areas. But it also rewards good putting. These greens are fantastic. All the greens that these guys play are really good, but these greens are true, right? They might be the truest they'll play all year. Brian Harmon, don't hate it. You know what though? The one name that just popped off is, I think we got to go with Keegan Bradley. And hear me out. Actually, no, we've already taken Keegan. My bad. So, okay, back to the drawing boards. We're going to think this out. This is a process. Man, man, honestly, for an elevated event, there's not a lot of, just not a lot of bigger names. I mean, we got Scheffler, but we've already used him. We got him at the win at the Masters. We were running thin on bigger names. You know what? All right, we're going to make an executive decision. We're going to go with Victor Hovland. Back to back. I like it. That's what we're going to do. Victor Hovland, official pick of the back nine six-pack for the race for the Mayo Cup and the one and done. Let's fire away. Look, thanks for enjoying the thought process. That's how my brain works. For those that have listened to the show, you just got a full insight on the indecision that I have in my daily life. So, yeah. So Victor Hovland, let's go. All right. Well, I think that's it, but we're going to head to the patio. Look, tease the guests. This guy's salt of the earth, one of my best friends, college roommate, 2022 Hamilton Elks member guest champion. And look, he put up with me for 3 years as a roommate in college. I think that earns him some kind of status in life, but he's also a soon-to-be dad, about to have a baby girl here any day. So, but without that, other than that, I'm going to introduce my good friend, John Rice. All right, welcome, John, to the patio. Anything goes on the patio. So we're going to do this a little different today. We've got some questions submitted from other people. We'll answer those at the end.
All right, sounds good.
But my question to you is, out of everything that happened in college, what was your favorite moment from college? Obviously, we were roommates. What was your favorite moment from college?
Man, put me on the spot right off the rip. I don't know that I can point to like one exact thing. Yeah, I'll try to give you one, but I'm going to actually just give you two because I've never really listened to you anyways. So I think combined, looking back at college, I think our Ryder Cup every single year has to be the one big takeaway, because it was us getting to be competitive, but in an environment where it didn't actually matter. And what it did was it brought the best out in everybody, and allowed us to be competitive, but in an environment where there wasn't actually any repercussions for playing poorly. And so when you get a bunch of guys together to play where there's not really any repercussions, you're not tanking in a tournament or something, everyone tends to play good, and the stories and the competition and the play, plus just the camaraderie, was always the best. If I had to point to one moment, I will never forget the final night in Myrtle Beach of our senior year. I'll never forget that series of events with the guys, kind of a final farewell. So if there was one thing, I guess it's probably that evening of antics and time together. But the Ryder Cup, if we're going to boil it back down to golf, it has to be the Ryder Cup. And that was the best. Every year you looked forward to it. It always came and went too fast. And a lot of good stories, a lot of memories.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, so we did an inter-team Ryder Cup every year. Look, I've never wanted to punch people so hard, and I've never wanted to hug people so hard, depending on what happened. But it was intense. And, you get a team of, 20 guys or whatever we had. And it always did seem like even the people that, weren't like the best golfers ended up playing well. Like I've won matches against people better than me, but I've also lost matches where I'm like, how the fuck did I lose to this person? Like, but it's the Ryder Cup, and that shit happens.
Yeah, man, and it was the event for guys like me, right? So you look at me, like I was an okay golfer, didn't really have any business playing tournament competitive collegiate golf, but I was one of the guys, found a spot on the team and a way to contribute. But a Ryder Cup every year, man, that was an opportunity like that could make my whole year. It was just an opportunity to go compete, and you're right, like, you could come out of nowhere and have a great Ryder Cup as an inter-team competition and really make your year, right? And that was a big deal for guys like me. And it was an opportunity. Like I think you and I played together a couple years, and we played against each other a couple years. And that was always huge. And like, man, I'm going to go neck to neck with Justin, right? And like, here's this opportunity. Like in an 18-hole match, I'm not going to touch Justin, but in a Ryder Cup in a Ryder Cup format, you know, maybe alternate shot with a decent partner. It's like, man, I can take it to Justin today. And what a cool way to like kind of level the playing field again with like no real repercussions. When it gets done, we're all going to hang out anyways, so it's not a huge deal. But while you're playing, it's amazing.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you, I was never on a winning team until my last year, and of all the stuff that I remember that. Like I remember never winning a Ryder Cup, and then I'm like, I have to win this year. Like, there's no next year. I have to win this year, and yeah, and I finally get, and I remember that last year we were all, like a couple guys that like love them to death, not the best golfers, but they're coming in and like their match mattered, and it was they're fucking jacking it around the green. I remember I think they won like my team won with like a 3 or 4 putt on the last hole. Like it was intense. Those were always.
I don't remember the exact scenario, but I want to say it was probably like our sophomore year, and Big Kissel like had a crucial match in the Ryder Cup. And I'm pretty sure he like birdied the final hole, or maybe that's just how my brain has elaborated it to 10 years down the road. But like Kissel fucking sunk a putt or something, or got up and down for like a big win, and it was a huge deal. Like it was the moment of the year, right? And for a dude like that, just a great dude. He wasn't out playing tournaments and stuff, but all of a sudden, all the weight landed on Kissel, and he fucking came in clutch.
And I remember that year vividly because he's a big country boy, and he hated the fact that he was on Team Europe. He absolutely hated the fact. He was like, he wanted to be on Team USA. He was on Team Europe, and it ended up coming down to him, and he ended up winning it for him. So that was that. It was just, there's so many incredible moments. Like I remember fist pumping in our coach's face after making like a 50-footer to win a match. Like never thought I was going to make it out of there alive. Like just, that was a good one. I didn't think about that, but yeah, Ryder Cups were always freaking awesome. And then, of course, that last night in Myrtle Beach on our last spring trip was like things that we cannot talk about, but it was incredible. Like, hey, if this is the last night I spend with these guys, like this is going to be great. Like and I still talk about it with people and the people that were on that, at that night and whatever. But yeah, it was full of some surprises.
All the crazy antics aside, it was just like a cool final night, looking back with guys that, for the most part, all of us lived together for at least 2 or 3 years up until that point, right? So it was kind of like a final farewell. Super cool. Just a fun night. A last go around, even though it's leading into the spring season. So there's a whole season there, but there's a season for 5, 6, maybe 7 guys, right? Whereas as the trip is kind of a culmination of, I don't remember. I want to say we had 4 seniors, 5 seniors. I'm trying to think if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think we had 4. I think we had 4 seniors. Yeah, we had 4 seniors, and then we had a guy that was a junior that was graduating early. So we ended up having 5 out there that night. And we allowed him to come. It's John, not to confuse you with you, but another John that was like, yeah, come on, you can come with us. It'll be fine. So, yeah. Keimer. Yeah, we let him come on that. We didn't let him come, but he was like, this is my last year. So he came on, he came out that night as well. And it was, so many stories from that night. We could probably go for like 40 minutes just telling stories about that night. But yeah, those were good
Absolutely.
ones. I think those are probably top of the line. I vividly remember a really good night when we won our home tournament and had a party at our house. It was awesome. Like I thought that night was a lot of fun. Everybody was like on fall break, and I
Yeah.
think we were like the golf team was like the only team on campus at that point. That was a great
Yep.
night. Yeah, that those two were ones that popped in my head when I knew I was going to ask you this question. But yeah, those are all good, great memories. I tell kids all the time, I'm like, dude, I don't care if you're not going to play. Maybe you will. Like, dude, just join a team. Like, just go. Tell them you're going to walk on. Tell them you're going to get a 4.0. Tell them you're going to come to all workouts. Like, just get on a team because, like, I had my moments where I played, didn't play, but like, there was always guys that weren't playing, and we had such a good group of guys that, like, it was even if you didn't go to the tournament, you're like, I'll have fun this weekend. So, all
Oh, 100%.
right. So we got that one out of the way. This is my second question to you. This is kind of an impromptu interview, but if you're soon to be dad, very soon, like what, any day now, right?
Any moment. Any moment. It might be
Yeah.
15
So
minutes.
first things first. Please don't go get arrested in Louisville after your daughter's born. Um, Secondly, what is one thing that you are terrified of once the baby gets here?
Oh, man.
Because I had mine. I had one thing that I was deathly terrified of.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I think it's not so much. It would be easier for me to be afraid of something if I knew what to expect, if that makes sense. I think the bigger fear is like I don't even know what to be afraid of, right? I don't
That's
know
true.
exactly what to fear or like what to really think about. Um, yeah, and I think, man, I don't know that there's like really a big fear because this has been a I don't want to say a bucket list item, but this has kind of been like the number one priority for me over the last 3-4 years. Right,
Yep.
is starting a family. So I've been looking at this and anticipating it. It's not a surprise. This is what I've
Yep.
wanted. So I'm more excited than scared. Um, but like not to get crazy serious, man, but it just makes me super honed in on trying to be as good of a person as possible.
Yeah,
So
isn't that
like
crazy?
I'm it is. I'm up in the morning, I'm reading more books, like I'm back in my Bible, I'm like in the gym. Uh, there's like extra motivation to just be like a well-rounded, a good dude. I'm reaching out and like staying in touch with like more people that have impacted my life in the past. Just because it all kind of like dials in when you're like, I want to be a great dad. I want to be a
Yep.
good husband. I just want to be as good as possible. And
Yeah.
so it's
It's
motivation. So I don't know.
it.
I guess maybe the fear is that I'm afraid that I'm not going to do a good job. So just on the front end, I'm like, I gotta just work to be as good as possible.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy what kids will do. It's like you have your college years and your fun years, and it's like, and all of a sudden when you're expecting a kid, you're like, holy crap! Like I'm not only just responsible for myself, I'm responsible for another living thing. Um, Yeah, honestly, that's what I was. You pretty much nailed it. I was terrified of changing diapers. I didn't get any practice beforehand, but secondly, it's like you're like now I am fully responsible for keeping something alive other than myself. And you think back, you're like, I know we're big fans of the show, but like How I Met Your Mother, and there's that
Oh
episode
yeah.
where they're like, that guy's gonna be a dad, and it's like you say that, but then you're like when you get thrown into that, like even if it's planned, right? Like you're like, oh, dude, I got to like figure a way to be like the best version of myself all the time,
Yeah.
specifically with girls, right? They're going to marry somebody that is probably close to what you're like. And you're like, okay, I want them to marry someone that's like how I am now and not someone how I wasn't like at 19 or 20 or 21 or whatever.
Oh,
But yeah,
100%.
that's the fear, right? Like, okay, I now have to be the best version of myself just for your kid, right? Like it's that is,
Yeah.
and am I ever going to be like the best, right, or whatever? So that's terrifying. I get that.
And you brought up a good point about it being a girl. You know, I think I might have different levels of anticipation or anxiousness about a boy, but for a girl, it's like, man, I gotta be the example of what she's going to expect someday, right? And
Yep.
that's more than boys. Like boys are going to be the example of what they should try to be, but you got to set the example for what someone envisions what she wants, you know, in a man, and that's a lot of weight, and it's important. So,
Oh,
but it's good, man. It's like competition. I gotta bring it every day and step up and get better,
yep.
and I enjoy that. I'm so excited. I mean, I've been
Well,
waiting for this. I'm super excited, and I've always had a good relationship with your girls, which makes me even more excited now.
yeah. You've seen the other side of it, and kids become a lot more fun. Like I'm not a baby person. They're tough, right? Like feedings and they just. But you've seen the other side of it, and they call you. My kids call you Uncle Rice, and I like you're gonna kill it. You're probably gonna do better than I am. I it's but you're gonna kill it, and yeah, the whole girl thing changes the whole element to it. It really, really does. Like boys, I feel like most dads are like, all right, like I need to set a good example for him, but like when he gets out in the world, like he's a boy, right? Like you don't have to like worry about certain things with boys. With girls, you 100% have to. There's so many more things that you have to worry about with girls, and
Y'all,
like
way more.
I went through it. You know, Danielle's out of town. I went through it. Like there's just so much, and I'm still learning. Like trust me, we're getting closer to the teenage years. There's still a lot to be learned. And that's the good thing. It's always a learning
Yes,
process
no,
the entire time.
I'll be leaning for lessons learned. I'll be calling you like, Justin. Hey, how did you deal with this one? I got it coming up.
Yeah. There's this, it's definitely learning on the job. That's for sure. Like you think you have everything figured out, and then they get a little older, and then it's something else. Then they get a little older, and it's something else. And eventually it's going to be like, you know, I talked to someone that has older girls and an older boy, and they're like, yes, this is a really like before 13, 14, it's a really tough age. Really before 16, it's a really tough age of like, you got to drive them places and this and that. And they're like sponges and all this. But he was like, when they get older, their problems are much more expensive and bigger. I was like, I never thought of it that way. You get car wrecks, wrecking their car when they finally get their license, speeding ticket, like they just get more expensive as they go on. So,
Absolutely, man.
oh, well, we'll move on to the. This was a submitted question. I actually really like this, and I don't think some things slip through the cracks on this show, and I can't believe this was actually never asked. Um, but shout out to my guy Chase. I think you know Chase. He went to Tiffin with us.
Yeah.
Guy's an avid listener. I don't even think he's a golfer. He dabbles, but he's not a golfer. Loved hanging out at the golf house though. So shout out to Chase. So
Yeah.
he submitted this question. If you're playing an entire round of golf, but you only got one club, what club would you play with?
7 iron.
Would it be like you're gonna 10 cup it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you can shut the face and get a little bit of extra yardage. You can open the face, get a little more loft. It's it's not so lofted that it's difficult to chip or putt with. I mean, there's a reason it was the club in Tin Cup, right? I mean, I think it's probably the most versatile.
It's the most logical one. Yeah. I thought about that, but I think I would probably, I guess it depends on the course you're playing. Like, I think if it's like a really long one, you probably go up to like a 5-iron maybe. Just,
Yeah,
you can get a little more, like, but if you're playing like your normal ho-hum, like 6,500 yard course, I think a 7-iron, you can chip a little better with it. Like 5-iron is going to be a little hard out of a bunker if you end up in a bunker. If you're short-sided, a 5, I mean, you can flop a 5-iron, but it's going to be a lot harder than a 7-iron. But yeah, I think the 7-iron is the logical answer, but I think it would be dependent on the course. I did ask the question to someone today, and they told me a driver.
really.
Yeah, I was like, like, what happens when you're short-sided? It's like, I'm just gonna like hit it hard through the rough, and I'm like, but the problem is like, what do you do if there's water in front of you? Like, you're not gonna be able to carry the water, right? Like,
Water,
a
or even
100-yard
just
shot with a driver over the water. What are you gonna? I guess you could skip it, but
I guess, or more likely you'd be like short sided with a bunker and a lip, and you'd just be bumping it into the lip over and over.
or just try to or try to run it up the list. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they're just thinking more along the long lines of tee shots. But yeah, I think you nailed it. 7, depending on the course, maybe you go to like a 6 or a 5-iron.
Yeah, it probably comes from my inconsistent playing golf. I mean, I've bladed some 7-irons like 225, and I've clubbed them like 90. So to me, the 7-iron, the possibilities are endless.
You got everything locked down from 90 to 225 yards.
Right?
Oh gosh, that brings up a good topic that we could probably go on forever. But like the inconsistencies of amateur golf, of like, like what you hit a club, but it can also go like 20 yards either way. Like it can like 7-irons, like that can go 195, it can go 155. Like, problem is we don't hit the sweet spot enough. I think that's really what it boils down to. Oh,
No, not at
all
all.
right.
It's funny you say that. I played 9 holes last week with some buddies from work, and he had this blue tees thing. It's like a speaker rangefinder combination deal. But
Yep.
so the yardage was popping up greens, and I quit. I quit looking at what the yardage to the pin was, and I just started looking at what was my front and rear yardage. And I would be like, I'm just going to pick the club that's most likely to fall somewhere in that gap, right?
And then the next thing you know, you're probably hitting things into the center of the green, or you're hitting hitting enough club, because sometimes we get front pins and we're like, oh, it's 135, and it's like, if you just hit it 140, you'd probably be fine, right? But we think like, oh, I got to hit it 135, and then you come up short, and then just a slew of problems come from that. So yeah, that's actually not a bad. And honestly, a lot of golfers that I know that are notorious for leaving things short, I always just like I'll laser it for them, and I'll tell them like I'll add like 7 yards, like 135 is like it's actually like 142. It's like, oh, okay, and then they hit it pin high, and I'm like, so if I'd have told him the yardage, he probably would have went down a club and been short. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's not bad. All right, last question, and this was submitted, but I think I'm gonna tweak this a little bit, and I know for a fact we haven't talked about this, but so what is there a pizza topping that you adamantly believe that should not be on pizza? I mean, I don't have one, but I mean, I could probably come up with one. But
I mean, you know this. I'm like the least picky eater of all time. I'm probably not a great person to eliminate toppings. If you put a pizza in front of me, I'll eat it. It doesn't really matter to me. I will say the one that I see that I don't often like is green pepper. Uh, and I say that because for whatever reason, I feel like the texture of the green pepper is never consistent with the rest of the ingredients on the
Nope.
pizza. So it's almost like it's like getting a crouton on your pizza. It's hard and crunchy, and
Yep.
everything else is kind of soft, right?
Yeah. They don't. They don't like. I don't want to. I don't know if this is the word for it, but they don't like saute. Like they don't get soft. I feel like when
Correct.
they get in the oven, they get hard, and it's. I don't. I'm not
Yeah.
a big pepper
I mean,
guy
that
as it
being said,
is, but
I'm definitely eating a slice of pizza in front of me with green pepper on it. But it's probably the one that stands out where I'm like, I've never asked for green pepper on my pizza.
yeah, I would say that's probably up there for me. Look, I know people don't like it, but I love pineapple on pizza. So I'm not going to say that one. Like,
Yeah,
I know some people say it doesn't belong on pizza. I've had some pretty good Hawaiian pizzas. So that's definitely not one of them. Green peppers is definitely up there. I recently had a run in with anchovies. Not a big fan of those. So it'd probably be between green peppers or anchovies. I just don't know what it is about
I
a
don't think
fish being
I
on a
don't think I've
pizza.
ever I don't think I've ever had anchovies on pizza, but like I love classic, like a real classic Caesar salad, and that's got anchovy paste in it. So maybe I like it. I don't know.
I look, my taste buds are changing every day, but it just the look of it and the smell of it was kind of like I don't know. It didn't look good, didn't smell good, but I love Caesar salad, so I know my taste buds are changing because I just found out I like fresh guac. I didn't ever think I would like that, but I found that out. So I don't know. Maybe I need to be more adventurous.
Yeah, give it a shot if they're changing. I don't know if they're run back all the stuff you never liked or never ate. Give it another round two. You know.
Well, I just found out I like banana peppers like a year ago on pizza. So I hated it. I would never eat it. Maybe I just never tried it, but now I eat banana peppers on everything. Like we have a jar in our fridge. I probably wouldn't have said that probably a year ago, but I like eating them just
Yeah, they're
raw
great.
now.
Yeah, I love
Oh
banana peppers.
well,
Excellent topping.
well we'll end it there. I appreciate you hopping in the patio with me. Good luck. You know, here soon. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Just again, like I said, don't get arrested in Louisville after you have a kid. We can't
Yeah,
afford his attorney, so
yeah,
uh,
not at all.
well, I
What a
appreciate it
mess.
again. We'll see you soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
See ya. All right. Thanks for John for hopping on there. Man, that look, hey, sorry to kind of get into the old reminiscing thing, but dude, we had so many great moments in 3 years as roommates, 4 years in college together. He's a awesome teammate. He's going to be a fantastic dad, by the way. I'm a little jealous about how good of a dad he's going to be. I'm super excited for him, but um, yeah, shout out to him for coming on and answering the hard hitting questions on the patio. But that's going to do it for our show. Some housekeeping things. Again, like us on Instagram, Twitter/X. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be solo again next week. We'll find something. We're going to get through it. Mitch is leaving me hanging, but we're going to get through it. Hit that subscribe button though on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. We would greatly appreciate it. We do have a few hats. I actually just sold a hat the other day. We have a few, very, very few hats. And if you want one of those, hit us up on Instagram or if you have our number, shoot us a text. We'll get one to you. But other than that, enjoy the Memorial this weekend. For those of us in Ohio, you know, if you're going, enjoy it. And we'll see you back here next week. Cheers. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back 9 Six Pack. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Back 9 Six Pack for all your content needs. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.